Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing? You are on mute, sister. I
I
don't know
am
who you're
just
talking to.
talking. I see that I was on mute. So sorry. I said I'm doing well, and the holidays are upon us, and I'm excited to be celebrating. Who said it? I think it was Tanika Ray said something like about grateful giving or something. She's changing the name, so because the other thing is rooted in oppression and things like that.
Well, it is rooted in prayer, but again, sometimes we have to take claim back to things, right? Or we have to claim things. So,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with giving thanks. There's nothing wrong with giving. So, if it's Thanksgiving, whatever you want to call it, Indigenous People Appreciation Day, whatever you want to call it, go ahead and call it that. I'm looking forward to this annual tradition where our family comes together and fellowship, eat, drink, and are married. And that ain't even Christmas. How about that?
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, if you are tuning in, let us know where you are watching Hey Sister from tonight. We really thank you for those of you who have joined us live. And those of you who are watching on the replay, we thank you too for joining us tonight. Remember to like, follow, share, subscribe, tell a friend about Hey Sister and how they can get in on the conversation. And for those of you who are live with us tonight, and even if you watch it in the replay, because we do like to go back and read the comments, get involved in the conversation in the comments. That's where all the action is. So, with that being said, I'm wondering where this ponytail came from. What y'all think? What you doing over there, sister? I see you. Other side.
And well, I mean, I've got to give you both angles.
She hitting the angles. She's
Mhm.
hitting them angles.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
was trying something different because I wanted a ponytail last weekend for the game. I went home for the Southern University versus Jackson State University game, and I wanted to give me a little ponytail, but I had to take a YouTube tutorial, and I'm happy that I didn't even attempt last week because it took me way too long to do this, and this was and nobody seemed to know how to do it like when I was
Well,
home. So
well, look, somebody thinks it's cute.
thank you, LS. Thank you. So
Well,
yeah,
look,
I think I'm gonna do it again. I saw a second tutorial and hers seemed a little bit easier than the first one that I relied on. So I think I'll do it again, but it probably will be a style after I've gotten my hair. Like if I flat iron my hair and it's like a few days dirty, and then I want to do something because yeah, it worked.
okay, hey, listen, it works for me. It works for me. So, well, you just whip that ponytail if you got to. You can do something with that.
I
Ah,
was channeling my inner Jasmine.
yes, okay. Well, tonight we are going to start off in typical Hey Sister fashion with hot topics. We got some heavy hot topics, we have some lighter hot topics, but we definitely want to hear from you in our hot topics. So we have to start off with this Rittenhouse verdict, where resoundingly across all of the United States of America, every black household I know said one thing. You supposed to say
What?
what's that?
Not surprised.
There
Not.
you go. Not surprised. Who was shocked? I mean, if you was watching anything, if you had been, and if you watched it out there, were you surprised? And if you were surprised, tell us why in the comments. Um, I certainly wasn't surprised. I can't even say that I was disappointed. The way that things had been set up, some of the things that the judge did not allow, some of the way with the jury instruction. It's just so many things that were set up that I was like, this boy who wants to play like a man and pretend or think he's been trained up in the authority of his whiteness and that he can get away with anything. And
Mhm.
so it doesn't matter. And so when people always say, well, they don't understand privilege and, he's not wealthy or this or that or whatever. So what they don't really understand privilege. The fact that a young man could illegally possess a weapon, but the law says he can carry the weapon, but illegally have this weapon because he was underage, travel
Mhm.
across the line, say he's going to be a medic, even though he's never been trained in anything, and runs down and wants to protect property that's not his own. That's nothing but audacity and privilege. Because if he would have stayed his ass at home, none of those people would have died. And what's interesting, and I saw this tweet, which I thought was so very, very powerful about the circumstances, was that in this chaos and in this protest and all of the looting and rioting and all the things that they said went on, only people who got killed were killed by him. How about that? That's
That's
is privilege personified.
Yeah, I mean, so not surprised, disgusted, absolutely. Disgusted because to me it sets a dangerous precedence. Um, talked to our father about this, and one of the things that he mentioned is, it is time for lawmakers, politicians, especially black politicians, to now really talk through about how are we going to have some different reforms overall. um and I know, look, there was the attempt, what it was, the George Floyd policing act. I can't remember what the exact name was, that was voted down, or wasn't voted on, whatever it was. It failed in Congress or what have you. And policing is certainly an aspect of it, but for me, I'm always like, if Kenosha, Wisconsin is not a 90% white place, I don't know how the jury is 90% white. Um, what enraged me was the number of people who want to pretend that this has nothing to do with race because he killed two white people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it all was because Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 times by white police officers. Jacob Blake being a black man. That's what the protests were about in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And and then when people said, I tweeted about, like, man, because between that case and then the folks who killed Ahmaud Arbery, it's like, if people just stay at their house and mind their own business, like, how that will take us far. And the number of
Get some business and
to my
mind
yeah,
it.
and the number of people who came at me on Twitter like, oh, you mean like Antifa and Black Lives Matter? Listen, y'all can miss me with all of that, because yes, last time I checked, we have the right to peacefully protest. And anybody who's not peacefully protesting, they, by and large, if they're black, they're gonna get arrested. That is not a like thing that don't happen. That happens. So my
Or they
aggravation
might get tear gassed by the president of the United States, depending on who it is.
Absolutely. So, are punched in the face, pushed down, like all of these things have happened. So to act like, the protesters are the ones who should have stayed home. No, Kyle Rittenhouse should have stayed home. His mother should, with her, y'all gonna keep trying to tell me this woman is 38 years old with that leather face. She's not, but um she should have stayed her leather-faced self home. And they should not have it. And I really do hope, I've heard on NPR earlier that there is the conversation about getting the Justice Department involved. I'm not even sure how that works at this point, but bringing charges on the mother, um because at the end
Yeah,
of
I mean, you talk about for a minor child, putting endangerment to a child. That was endangerment to a child, that you brought your child out there.
right. And like I said, my problem is if the police officers need a 17-year-old to come in from out of town to help them, we got bigger
Real
fish to
problem.
fry. We got real problems. But something that DL Hewley said on TMZ, so apparently before the verdict was given, he had already said pretty much, yeah, it's he knew how it was going to go, right? One of the things that he said that I thought was very interesting was, why do we need to see the defense? Like, why do we need to see them? If we want to truly take bias out of the conversation, because white jurors will see Kyle Rittenhouse and think, oh, he could be my son, he could be my nephew. They are going to think this poor kid. I mean, I had just seen another case about a young man, I believe in New York, who raped three underage girls, and he's getting no punishment. He has to wear he has to register as a sex offender, but he doesn't have to serve any jail time. And his parents supposedly helped groom the girls by giving them alcohol and marijuana. And it was, and the judge says, I prayed about it and I thought about it long and hard, and you just couldn't give him time. Like, I don't understand it. So I thought that what DL said was pretty intriguing. How about let's take some of this bias out. We don't need to see him at all. Present the facts of the case, and then let's make a decision and let the chips fall where they may. Because like you said, the privilege there is it's maddening. That's
Audacious. That's what it is. Well, we have a nope. Let's look how many people were surprised. Nope, no surprise here. Over it. Yes, that's definitely a sentiment. But it's sad that we aren't surprised.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I don't want to be over it because Jesus be offense.
No, I wasn't surprised. The judge was throwing that defense alley oops all day, every day. He's white, period. I'm gonna come back to that one. His mother's face is how you shouldn't live, and the Justice Department should look at the judge. Perhaps they should, in judicial conduct and what have you. But I'm gonna say this, because one of the things that struck me, I know that there will be civil lawsuits filed. And people were like, okay, well, he don't really have anything or whatever. But you know what? Ricky Schroeder paid for his defense. So we're going to just let Ricky Schroeder and
Girl, Silver Spoons?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yes. Ricky Schroeder paid for his defense. And so between Ricky Schroeder and John Boyd, I can't even watch one of my favorite movies growing up, Champ. I can't even watch the movie.
Well, I already knew John Boyd was crazy, but girl, all the years I done devoted to Silver Spoon.
Yes, ma'am. Your whole childhood just went out the window, didn't it? Okay. So again, they have a support system, and just like with the OJ trial, because not just because he white, because privilege comes in different formats. So I'm gonna say that privilege, money, access. The thing is, we have to stop believing that these court systems is about finding truth or justice. It's about who presents the best case. Period. Full stop. Who presents the best case? That's what it's all about.
And when prosecutors are overworked, underpaid, and Ricky Schroeder is paying for the defense.
There you have it.
Yeah.
There you have it. So, but and this is the reason why, even though, so we wasn't surprised here, and even though we know OJ was despicable, we still feel like, well, at least we got one.
Well, not anymore, do we?
I think a lot of people feel that way. At least they had one.
No, I feel like, well, for a day. Well, not a day. It was more than a day. But that day, you felt what Black Americans have been feeling forever. But they done got their get back even with that. Like, what is our get back? When do we ever get
equity?
Something. I don't even want to call it equity.
Let me get some of these comments up in here. First, those old white judges need to be removed. Diversify the judiciary system with minority judges. I ain't calling us a minority. I'm going to call us with people of color. On another note, minorities need to participate more when they are called to be on a jury. Absolutely. But they ain't never picked me because I'd be like, no, so they ain't picked me. I got to find the right script so they can pick me next time I get so I've been called twice and I ain't been chosen. Stop trying to get out of it. Absolutely. Oh, you surprised too about Ricky Schroeder? Yeah, boo, Ricky Schroeder. Yep. You ain't know that? Yep. Y'all boy. Yep. He was just offered an internship. Let's see
I
how.
saw that and gonna go to get an internship and go be mad because he ain't smart enough to perform. And then what
Yeah.
you gonna shoot the
Throw the
other
whole silver
intern?
spoon show away. Yep. OJ didn't do it. Well, you know what, Sean? I'm going to say this. I actually agree with you. I think somebody else did that with him. He was there, though. He was definitely there.
He
I
was
still
there,
think
he paid for it, but
he was there. I don't think
he didn't
I
do
still
this because it was
anyway.
that was
I ain't gonna tell y'all
professional.
all my conspiracy. I ain't gonna be no conspiracy theorist on here tonight. No spirit. We got a few more hot topics we got to get through. We're not gonna talk about that McMichael attorney acting a fool up in there because that's another trial. We're gonna see how it turned out. But we're gonna talk about some more lighthearted stuff before we get into our real conversation for the night and bring our guests up. If you haven't watched King Richard, watch King Richard. Now, while folks in the Twitterverse want to make a comment about why they want to make a movie about Venus and Serena and it's centered around a man, I wanted to punch this person in the throat who made that tweet. But I'm gonna just say, if you lived through it, if you were there at the time, if you were on that journey, just being a few years older than them, I remember watching it all. I remember how their father was vilified. I remember all the things that everybody in the world of tennis said about Richard, and for them to love their father, for them to tell the story and embrace what he did, the sacrifice he made, the sacrifices their mother made, the sacrifices they all made to be at this point and to celebrate that and to honor it is a powerful testament to Black love, Black families, and Black fatherhood. And yes, they do exist and they matter. Okay. That's what I got to say. Now, you haven't watched it
I
yet.
have not watched it. I wasn't until last night that I realized I could watch it on HBO Max. So
Yes.
I'm gonna watch it. But
Yes. So watch it on HBO Max, buy a ticket so they can get some of that box office and all that stuff.
yeah.
I wish they would have made it into a miniseries. Well, who knows? There may be more in the works. I'm sure that there is more in the works. Another movie in the streaming world, but this one got on my last. Oh, my last. Oh, my last. Did you see Passing People? I'm gonna let you talk about this one
I
because you
know.
know.
I watched it. I haven't read the book. So because I haven't read the book, I went into it just knowing that it was about passing, but that was about it. Um, so needless to say, my sister didn't like it. I will say this: it wasn't the
I
worst.
was like, "What's the point?"
The point again was what she said.
We all
All of
passing
us
at something.
are passing for something.
Gotcha.
Period. That was the point. Again,
Whatever.
I had a wonderful, I'll have to tell you about this conversation with my parents. Um, we were talking about this whole, the narrative that we're told about Native Americans and Blacks in their relationship. And many of us are passing for being half Cherokee and 2/3 Choctaw. I mean,
I
because
mean, look at the ponytail, sister. You know you got Indian in your family.
because it's a lot easier. It feels a lot more comfortable to say that instead of saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure that my great grandparent mother was raped by a white guy. Like that just feels different.
Yeah, it
So,
does feel different. Or that even some of those native people didn't want us around either and enslave some of us. But we gonna
that
go.
was the conversation.
All right. Oh my gosh. King Richard is amazing. I didn't know he was from Shreveport. Didn't know how they grew up in Florida. Yes. Yeah. Passing is a show, it's a movie based on a book of the same name. And it is out on Netflix right now. I like passing, and I read the book in college. That's because you went to that girls' college over there in Atlanta named Spelman. That's why you read it, because you know many of them. Let me stop talking about the people from Spelman, because I know many of the people from Xavier's was passing too. Uh, so you watched it today? Yes.
Well,
Yes.
tell us what you thought, Sean, because you have an intriguing. You would have an. I would love to hear your
Hear
perspective.
your perspective on that. So, last hot topic before we bring on our guests, and I know we've kind of dragged on a little bit, but I do have to tell y'all, music lovers, you win. The last 2 weeks, we have had two of the best, two of the most complete albums drop. Silk Sonic on November 12th, Adele 30 on November 19th. If you can read those lyrics, especially on Adele, because I had to go back and tell my daughter, listen, I've been rocking with Adele since 19. I got Adele 19, 21, 25, and 30. Listen, it is one of the most complete. If you like music, if you like storytelling in a song, both of these, one is a throwback to the 70s and classics and love songs as well as breakup songs, because you know that smoking out the window just reminds me of like Zoom and Sail On, because if y'all didn't know Zoom and Sail On were breakup songs, y'all better go back and listen to the lyrics of Zoom and Sail On. Okay, because Lionel Richard was talking about, I'm about to leave you. I'm done. They are two of the most complete albums out there, and I am here for it. If you love music, go check them out.
Well, again, I would like you to tell me how to check them out. Because here's the thing, you all are going to think I'm crazy, but I really just don't know where you get out albums from anymore. Like, I listen to Spotify, I listen to Pandora, I listen to these things, but short of just purchasing them, how do you listen to the whole album? Can you just go
You
on?
go to Spotify, you look up the artist, and you look up discography, and all of the albums they've ever created is there, and you press play.
Oh, I didn't know that, sister. Sorry. I don't look at it like I only
Apple
listen to.
Music, same thing.
Well, I had to end my Apple Music subscription because they wanted to charge me, and I
So
felt.
then you can buy from Apple directly. If you don't want to do the subscription, you can buy the album off of Apple, pay the $14.99,
Oh,
and
right.
get it.
Well, that's all I'm saying. I ain't know no more. I didn't know that people were still buying albums. I just thought people were getting paid off of videos that played during us watching them on YouTube. I didn't know.
It's
I
a
feel like
combination.
because I have not downloaded to my Apple Music library an album in I don't know how long.
Yes.
And
Gotcha.
on and Spotify and Pandora, I listen to curated stuff.
Yes.
All right,
That's
I know
fair.
now.
I
Thank
got you.
you.
I got
You
you.
don't have to try to play me like that. All right, it's cool.
And you can also Google bounce version of Adele songs, and they already got bounce versions of songs on this album. How about that?
Well, I think whatever that little my little love song you had me listen to, it really does feel very. I heard that could have been a Mary J. Blige song for me.
I
Not
think that could have been a Mary J. Blige song. And the other one, you ain't never had a
well that
woman like me.
I mean, Adele, don't get me wrong. I mean, Adele's voice is amazing. So I ain't saying, but I'm saying what I heard. Okay.
All right, all right. I'm gonna let you introduce our guest so before we bring her up.
Okay. Sorry. So, everyone, I just want to introduce you all to my good friend, fellow tall girl, Miss Khaya Hamilton Jackson, who has written a book called Chasing Rainbows to tell us about her journey to becoming a mother. And she has such an incredible story that I just felt like it was something that we should absolutely share with our Hey Sister audience. So, welcome, Miss Khaya Hamilton Jackson.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. Don't talk about me. I am in the car. It's it's been a it's how you guys doing?
Girl, you
Good.
on a journey. Clearly, it's been a journey.
It has been a journey. I
But
have
that's why you here tonight to tell us all about your journey, right?
absolutely. I started in Houston this morning. I'm in Atlanta right now. So I mean, it's a it's always a journey. You have to keep moving though. That's the thing. You have to keep going. But how y'all
Absolutely.
doing?
We are
Good.
doing good. We are doing good. We're so glad to have you with us. And we want you to just dive right in and tell us about your story. So we know that you had a journey to motherhood. Like many, I have several people who I know who have struggled with infertility, and it is something that is usually spoken about in whispers. And so
Absolutely.
we want to like no, we need to have normalize these hard conversations. We need to pull the covers back, and we need to talk about these things openly, because still I think it's like about 10% of couples have some struggle with it, so it's not like it's uncommon.
I'm sure the number is probably higher than that. It's
Okay.
probably hovering at about 10 because, like you say, it's not spoken of. It's so hush. It's so, it's like a little secret society, but you have no idea how big the society is until you know.
Hmm.
So, like back, well, I know back during the journey, I would make a post, or I've made a post before about things during the journey, and I would get like on social media, and I would get like inboxes from people here and there, and it's just like no idea that they were struggling or just whatever. So it's just really shocking to learn as time goes on. But just to give, I don't know where to start. Where should I start, Christina? I don't.
Start at the
Well,
beginning.
yeah. Start at the beginning.
So
Well,
the
let me say this. When I first
so
recognized that you had
okay,
struggled,
the
I'm
journey
sorry.
started. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so I would say it started 2010. We'll say 2010 was my first pregnancy. Shortly after getting married, we got married in April. I got my first positive pregnancy test in July, I believe it was, and maybe a week or so after the positive pregnancy test, there was a miscarriage. So then that happened. And so then after that, it was more of just trying. And when I say trying, like trying to have a baby turned into like a full-time job in my mind. That's how it felt. Like you become obsessed basically. Because it's like this is supposed to be the most natural thing in the world for a woman to do. And clearly, women are supposed to have babies because look at the world. I mean, who populated the world if women didn't have babies, right? So it's like, I can do anything. This can't be something I can't do. It's just impossible to believe that that was a thing. And so, I mean, like obsession, like knowing when I could tell you when I was gonna ovulate 2 years from now. Like, that's how like it became a job. Like I was serious about it. And so, just fast forward, just going and going and going. So you get pregnant, you have miscarriages, things like that, or you get pregnant and then, it goes so far and you have DNCs, which are like procedures to get rid of pregnancies or non-pregnancies, all of that. And so the process just went over time, like I said, from 2009 to 2016. Um, we did, oh, let me back up. So, well, no, we did have, I would say, a successful, well, I got pregnant in 2011. That was with our daughter. And I made it, I went in for, um, they do an anatomy scan at 20 weeks. And so I went in for my 20-week anatomy scan. And that's when they learned that my cervix was opening. So basically, my body was starting to prepare for labor, but it was preparing too early. And so the thing with the cervix, you don't find out you have an incompetent cervix, which is what I was later diagnosed with, until the cervix is already incompetent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So went in for that at 21 weeks, delivered Eden at 23 weeks, but she didn't make it. So we had a loss at 23 weeks in 2011. And so then after that, it was like, okay, game on. I see you, I raise you, So, like I said, of course, it's obsession. You get the monitors, you take the pills, you join the sites, you join the groups, you read the books. I mean, it's obsessive. I meet people along the way who told me they've mortgaged houses, they've run through like savings, retirement plans, just all sorts of things, like to have a baby, or to think, you wouldn't think it would be that much of a struggle, just because, like I say, there's how many millions of people in the world. You just would not think this was an issue. So we go on, and then it's like, okay, I get focused, we get focused, my husband and I. Weight loss happens, and then it's like, well, no, I back up. So very important, and trying not to get into too many people's business, but people that I know or that I feel I can trust. They trust me, and we can have this conversation. You learn in biology or anatomy, you don't really pay attention, that you are born with whatever eggs you are going to have for your lifetime. Well,
Mm-hmm.
at a certain point, as you get older, the eggs get older. So, as time goes on, you get married, and then you go to have a child. Well, as the body gets older, no one really tells you about that. And so, what I'm saying is, I learned that my egg reserve was low. I did not have a lot of eggs left. And of the eggs that were left, were they quality eggs? You don't know unless you have them tested, and that's a process in itself. So then IVF comes about, which is in vitro fertilization. The process itself is not expensive, but the medications are very expensive. So if you're looking for stocks to buy them in that, because they are very, very expensive. Um, so we do in vitro fertilization, but there were other trials before that. You have IUI. There's so many reproductive measures out there, medications, processes. There's a lot out there. Some cheaper than others, some more successful than others. So we did do the IVF cycle. So with IVF, like I said, in vitro fertilization, they give you medications to stimulate the ovaries to produce the eggs. They go in and harvest the eggs. And so with IVF, they did give the medication to give me the best chance possible to produce as many eggs in this hen that's not producing many eggs anyway. They're gonna give me the best chance possible. So we go in, you get the medication. So we were able to produce 9 eggs. We harvested 9 eggs. Um, we got 7 to the point of being fertilized, right? So they fertilize 7, and there's stages. The eggs have to go through stages, even with in vitro, to get to the point of being transferred back to the mother to be placed in uterus. So we have 9 eggs, we get 7 fertilized, we get to the point where there's 5 that are good enough to be transferred. So the first time we transfer 2, we wait. 2 weeks later, we take the test. I'm not pregnant. Devastated again. It's like all this money, all this time. So you're thinking this. And so you think, well, we have 3 eggs left. Well, then when it's time to freeze, because like I said, there's still that process, and they test those eggs, we are only able to freeze 2 of those. So remember, we started with 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we freeze those 2. We go on. I refocus my mind, refocus my energy. Weight loss happens. All of these things happen. So I lose weight after. So all of this happened after losing Eden in 2011. So I lose weight. Weight loss comes, and we get to a point of saying, okay, well, one day I look up and I was like, where's my cycle? Realized there was no cycle. So I was like, Okay, let me just take a test, right? Go take the test. Boom, I'm pregnant. Wasn't even trying. Well, I got a positive pregnancy test. Let's say that we got a positive result. So then I go to the doctor, and my doctor, bless his heart, Paul Cook, wouldn't trade him for the world. I go, and I know it's because it's me, and he just is so patient and so kind. But I think I got to what would have been probably about 11 weeks with me going every week, and I'm just like, we're gonna see something today, we're gonna see a heartbeat. So basically that's like a blighted ovum, like I have a positive, it's like a chemical pregnancy. So there's a pregnancy, but there's not the egg. It did nothing. And so finally I put my big girl panties on again and was like, okay, it's not. So then that's when the DNC comes in, which is a procedure to clean out the uterus, take out whatever is not there, So we did all of that. And so then after that, about 6 months or so, maybe a year later, I was like, okay, we still have, no, it came up time because when you freeze the eggs, you have to pay to have the eggs frozen. Well, it was coming up time to re up on my baby's rent. And so it was like, are we going to pay their rent again? Are we going to give an eviction notice and we're going to do the transfer? It's like, we might as well do the transfer. Let's see what happens. So that's what we did. We went in, so frustrated. It was another process, medications, the doctors, because you go through fertility specialists, right? So you go to the doctor and they do a whole process of going to the doctor. I know I was going to the doctor at one point every day because there's a measuring of the lining of the uterus, how thick it is. There's blood. I've given so much blood. I should be a vampire. Like, I have given so much blood. Um, so they're doing all these tests. I'm going to the doctor literally like every day. And so we get to one point, I even started acupuncture. When I tell you there's so much out there that you can try and that you can do, and it happens. So we go. I'm getting to the point of thinking we're about to have the transfer. I go in to see my doctor. We're about 3 weeks into this process, and he says, "Nah, I don't like I don't like the numbers I'm getting with your uterus. I don't like the thickness of your uterus, the lining of it. I need this to be a little thicker. We just gonna scratch this cycle and start over." What? So when I say this, is it sounds probably okay, he's giving you the best chance, but to say we're gonna scratch this cycle and start over, we're talking about already like 4 weeks in of like taking pills, giving shots, going to the doctor. And this is so tedious and it's so stringent to like they put you on birth control. Everything is controlled. You go on birth control for this many days, this many weeks. You stop on this day. You have to take a shot for this on this day. You have to take a trigger shot. Like, it's all so very methodical. So when you see people who make a post about being pregnant and they may announce their pregnancy with needles and syringes and vials from medication, it's real. Like, it's a process, it's work, you have to do it. So all of that, we scratched that cycle. I broke a phone during that cycle. My line had our reunion. I went to our reunion. Then I had left Walgreens. They didn't get my medication right. I went in the bathroom at Davis Street off of Alameda and cried my eyes out and patted my makeup and came back out and went to our line dinner. Nobody ever knew what was going on except for my line sister who was in the car with me. So it's like you just keep going because you figure you can't say anything. You don't want to ruin anybody else's time. No one else understands, so you think, so you just go. Well, then we get to the other side of that. Transfer happens, the final two eggs, and then you get the rainbow. So that's like a Cliff Notes version. That's a very abbreviated version, but it's a lot. But the book came about chasing rainbows because after there's a loss, miscarriage, stillbirth, any pregnancy, and there's a loss, and you have a successful pregnancy from there, that subsequent child is called your rainbow baby or rainbow pregnancy. And so the book is called Chasing Rainbows because that's exactly what I was doing. I was chasing rainbows because each subsequent pregnancy after July of 2010 was a rainbow. So that's where the book comes from. And if anyone is friends with us on social media, if you know, so many people since my husband comes to homecoming, they be like, "Oh, I met the king," because everything is king and queen between the two of us. And so the book is based on the king and queen, and it just kind of abbreviates the process of going through trying to have a baby, trying to get pregnant. And so it just tells the story of them chasing their rainbow and eventually getting to the successful pot of gold, to the successful pot of having a rainbow. So that's where the story comes from.
Well, congratulations, first and foremost. I know,
He's sleeping.
yes,
He is worn out.
yes, Mr. Kaysen is, your
Everybody
lovely
knows
son.
Casey. Yes,
Yes.
he is everything. He is
Everything.
everything. So
So, with the book Chasing Rainbows, what made you decide that you wanted to even tell the story? Because, like we started off, this is not something that a lot of people talk about outside of the special communities of everyone who's already in that club.
I I got to the point of just even being able to tell the story, I guess, haphazardly. Like I said, when I would make a post about our daughter, and there would be people each time I'd make the post, because she would be 10 this year. So people would be like, I didn't know you had a baby, or I didn't know you had a daughter. And so when I tell people Kason was pregnancy number 7, and or even when you go to the doctor and you go places and they'll ask if you have children, yes, I have one, and they'll ask how many pregnancies, and then you say 7. And I can always tell when people get to that portion of the paperwork because they look up at me. You can always tell. It's like they want to look at you and just be like, it's like you're a unicorn. I don't know, but there's always a reaction. um so I guess over time, with people reaching out asking what I did, how I did, and the stronger I got with talking about it, because I couldn't always talk about it. It wasn't. It it just you just couldn't. I mean, I hated going to the doctor for annual exams. I hated going to Best Buy because there was a Babies R Us in the parking lot, so there was always a pregnant. Like there's always. It just felt like pregnant people were everywhere. Pregnant people were just like falling out of the sky, and it just was so aggravating. So, but just over time, people reaching out and having to tap into my strength to be able to assist other people, because I'm a therapist as well. So this comes up in therapy. So just getting stronger with that. And then I have a friend, Denisha, she wrote a book. And I asked her, I was like, the process. And when she told me what she did and just how easy it was really to do, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And she told me about it. Christine, the funny thing is, we were at Sands' birthday dinner, and she told me about it. And I went home and she gave me that person's information to contact to get them to do it. And I literally sat in the bed after dinner with them, and I wrote this story in like maybe an hour. And
Wow.
it was much more detailed. But when I finished it and the guy sent the rough draft, my husband was like, baby, this you can't, it's too much. But I had to write that much to get the story told, for the illustrations, for him to understand what I was needing it to look like. And so then after that, I had to go back and like change hats and like abbreviate and, fill in different things. But just to be able to do it, once I found out how easy it was, I was like, I want to do like a children's book to be able to just help families to be able to explain to children, because I used to toy with, and I still go back and forth when people ask, how many children do you have? Do I say one? Do I say two? Because then when you say two and they see one, then you have to explain that the other one is deceased. And then it's the, oh, I'm so sorry. So all of that. Um, and just for people to be able to talk about it, because some people continue to chase rainbows and they never get their rainbow. But then you always have family members or people or co-workers who are always like, why don't you have any kids, or you need to have some more kids? And it's like, you need to mind your business because you don't know. So it's
Right.
kind of like just not knowing. And I have friends, like close friends who, like I said, don't know I've been pregnant 7 times.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people who didn't know I was pregnant with Kason. And I saw that my staff were angry with me at work at the time because they were like, boss, how did you hide this from me? Like at one point, I was like, I'm gonna just show up with a baby. I'm gonna be like Phaedra. I'm gonna just have a sipping seat. Like I'm not gonna tell anybody. And so I was just like, no. But then, my mom was like, no, you can't do it because through that process, I remember one of those times I did go to the doctor at the Fertility Institute with a specialty doctor. And one of the doctors, bless his heart, he did not mean any harm. But with, like I said, my egg reserve being low, he told me my best bet was gonna probably to get a donor egg. And I was like, what do you mean a donor egg? Like go get somebody else's egg and put it in me like it's my baby. Like in my mind, I was gonna be like, I'm gonna know that's not my baby. Like it was just
Mhm.
at that time, it was unfathomable. I could not, but I do know people who have, and just going through the process in hindsight is not as far fetched as it felt in the moment. Well, then, after leaving that appointment, I remember calling my mom and I couldn't even talk. I was crying so hard. And then when I finally was able to tell her what was said and what was going on, she was like, no. She was like, the God we serve is different. She was like, we just need one. That's all we need is one. We don't need 12 eggs. We don't need a dozen eggs. You don't need a baker's. We just need one. We
Mhm.
just asking for one egg. And I'm just like, but basically, me, Christina, I'm clowning. I'm like, but they told me my eggs powdered. And she was like, that is not what they told you. But that was how it felt. Like, it's not going to happen. And just the support of everyone is I don't know. I just felt like I needed to tell. And I've had people to ask, why didn't you tell it? I guess because it's a children's book. It's a family help book. It's very, it's broke. And they were like, why don't you tell, like, from a biography standpoint? There's so much I can't even remember. Like, there's so much I can't even piece together because it was so much. So to try to bring that together, to give it to adults in an adult form, I would probably have to go in like hypnosis to dig that deep to like pull up some of that stuff because it just runs together and it feel like it just was just happening, like happening to me versus me going through it, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
so that's
one
where
of
it
the things
came from.
one of the things you said was, you are a licensed marriage family therapist. Um,
I'm a licensed psychotherapist, so I do marriage and family. I do serious mental illness. I do all of it, like full
okay.
gamut, just all
So
of it. Yes,
so you deal with the mentals, right?
yes,
And one of the
yes.
challenges in at least people who I've had this conversation with is the mentals and the impact that it also has on the relationship. So you and your husband, the impact on your relationship. How did you guys manage? Because many couples don't make it through this process.
My husband deserves like a Nobel Peace Prize just for that. Like he was amazing. I felt broken and defeated and I'm like, I can't give you a baby. And he was like, I didn't marry you to give me babies. Like if we can't, it's fine. We can adopt one, we can go get one. We have nieces and nephews. Like that was never, he was so supportive. And it was a point I had to stop and wonder, when does he grieve? When does he feel? Because I never saw it. I know that I'm sure that he did, but I never saw it. He was always strong, just like a pillar of strength for me. So I, it that never caused us to waver or he never got upset. Now, I mean, I would have to honestly say, not just too much TMI. Like I said, it became a full-time job. I think he used to hide from me sometimes and be like, leave me alone. But yeah, it was like, oh, we got like 48 hours. We got 70. Like I had that thing down to hours, like taking temperature, everything. Thermometers, charts, all of that. I mean, so like all of my friends know if they call and was like, I think I'm pregnant or I am pregnant. I had a friend not too long ago. She was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, I gotta go see how many weeks I am. I said, girl, no, you don't. Give me your last cycle. Bop, 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 bop. I broke that thing down and she got to the doctor. She was like, how I'm just, I mean, it was down to a science. I had it down to a science.
So you had the exact like time, right?
For my friend,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I knew how many weeks she was like to the day because they'll tell you like 4 weeks, three. It's like 4, 3, and something. So they do, and what is it? I can't remember. It's like you four, so it counts up to the week because every day matters. So
Mhm.
you are like 28, 4 and 1. I don't know what that third number is. So you're like 28 and 4. So you're 28 weeks and your fourth day leading into that 29th week. Oh yeah, because it matters. It matters down to the day. And so with just science and technology, you have like age of viability. So there's a certain week, and those weeks are getting shorter. So, um, and it's just funny because things happen in different ways. Because, like I said, I was 23 weeks in 2011 when I had Eden, and she didn't make it. But Marissa was born at 23 weeks in 77, and she's alive and well. I mean, she may be a little
Mhm.
mental. I mean, if you know Marissa, but I mean, I'm just saying, it's just it's just different times, and it just happens
Yeah.
in different ways, and that's
Mhm.
just how it goes. But I do plan to tell more of it. I've had some people to just reach out and it's like you should do a blog, you should do and then definitely just like everything else, and I know it seems so taboo that we talk about things in our community, but definitely in our community there's so many questions, there's so little education.
Right.
Um that's why I say with the people who I know trust me and know I'm not coming from a place of ill, um I tell them, and there's so many people because there's a lady, she does fertility for colored girls. She just gave birth to identical twin daughters at the age of 50 through IVF. She had done IVF a while back with her daughter and she still had some eggs, and she transferred eggs, she and her husband, earlier this year. And she just gave birth at like 34, 35 weeks to identical twin girls, and she's 50.
Mhm.
So not the most traditional way, but there are so many people having babies later in life and for various reasons.
Mhm.
um
Well,
but
something I
I
wanted to I wanted us to talk about real quick because
Mhm,
I had told you how when I turned 40, I went to my doctor, my
mhm,
OBGYN, and she basically at the time when I asked her about, should I consider freezing my eggs, she basically told me no because I was already 40, and she was like, basically my eggs were already old. I mean, she didn't say it like that, but that's what she meant. My eggs are already old, so not it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to freeze them. And you had a different perspective on that. And I know you're not a doctor, but I would love for you to share your thoughts about that.
I am not a doctor, but just a woman, a person with lived experience. I don't mean any harm, but how dare she?
Mm-hmm.
How dare she? Because especially without, and it's as simple as a vial of blood. That blood gives you a hormone, and I'm gonna double back because remember, I think I told you I was gonna figure out what that hormone was and let you know. But it's as simple as a hormone because they did nothing other than draw my blood when I went in, and I saw Dr. Haddad, which is who it was, and he says, "You see this number? Your number should be this, but your number is this. And this is what lets us know your egg reserve is low.
Mm-hmm.
It's low." He didn't say it was depleted, but it was low. And then when it gets this low, the quality of the egg goes down. And so, even without that, he was saying your best bet would be to harvest the eggs. And they have these tests that they do, the ICSI and all these things where they test the eggs. And they've got, and I mean, we talk about the celebrities doing it all the time. Like they can test your eggs down to the point of being able to tell you what color eyes your child will have, hair, all of that at the point of like fertilization, like if it's a healthy egg, unhealthy egg, whatever. But no, you should not have been told it was too late. But I am an advocate for, like I say, those people who trust me or that I feel can be okay. I come across people 30, 35 who are not married, don't have any children, are not sure if your insurance covers it or if you can afford it. Go to your doctor and tell them, I want to harvest my eggs. Why? You're young. Mind your business. You are the doctor. I am the patient. If you can afford it, go and have your eggs harvested and have them frozen,
Mhm.
because you can be 65 and come back to those eggs you froze at 33 and they are still the good eggs you had at 33. You cannot go get those eggs at 65 and expect to get the same quality egg.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and a lot of people are starting careers and doing things and traveling and hanging out and whatever it is that they're doing.
But
And
Well,
then
that's
even
they,
the other thing.
even not even those are not doing that. I mean, we know that Black women have a higher rate of fibroids, endometriosis, that all
absolutely.
of these things that are happening gynecologically that impact, and we get dismissed. And we said we were going to do a whole episode on being dismissed by the medical community, because no doctor should ever tell anyone, well, no, you shouldn't do that, without having even tested, like
Right.
without having even checked. I mean, I just think that that is, but that's what also happens to us. So it's compounded, as you said, the lack of education around the topic, the lack of information. Plus, you add the institutional racism that exists in the medical community and how Black women are treated. That should have never been said. And regardless of what age you are, because this is happening to women at all ages in their 20s. And they supposed to have all the fresh eggs. It's happening to them.
And you know what? And before, not to take up, because we only have a few more minutes, but the honest part, that we have to be honest about ourselves professionally. Whatever you do in your professional realm, even as a therapist, if it's not my wheelhouse, it's not my wheelhouse. And I will refer you to someone who is. And just because your GYN is just that, your GYN, she's not a fertility specialist. She's not an endocrinologist. So she may not even know that level. And I had to learn that. I have friends who are in the medical field, from nurses to whatever. I used to break down things about them, about my infertility journey, that they had no idea. When I was talking about when the egg is doing this and it attaches to this, and they're looking at me like, and I'm like, but you a nurse. So that's not my specialty. I'm not a labor and delivery nurse. I'm not a GYN nurse. I'm not an OB nurse. So that's foreign to me. I work oncology. Now, you want to talk cancer? We can talk cancer. Or you want to
Mhm.
talk the blood? So that just may not be her wheelhouse. And versus her saying or thinking she may lose a patient or whatever the reason is, well, let me send you to the specialist to find out. That honestly, in my opinion, that was not her place to say, no, you too old.
Right.
No, ma'am.
Especially because you
But
got that good insurance. Hell,
right.
let's
And
see
if
what
you do
you.
not, I've been telling everybody, I wish I'd have known then. Go get you a job at Starbucks. Starbucks pays for IVF.
Oh yes, that's one thing she told me
You
as
say
well.
what you want about Starbucks, baby. Starbucks pays about the reproduction. And then after you have your baby, move to Canada because they give you a year of maternal leave.
And Ireland as
Uh,
well.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, but
Mhm.
I'm so sorry about the confusion. Thank you, ladies, for having me on. It's just been a whirlwind. I would love to come back though. I would love to come back and just talk about anything, hot topics, mental health, just life, homecoming, me and Christina, whatever. Just I just want to come back. Please let me come back and
We want
just
you to come
We
recover.
back.
want you
Just
to
let
come
me
back.
come
I
back
mean,
and
Before, I
recover.
know you got to jump, but before you jump off, I do want you to, you gave that advice. If you're young, you can afford it. If your insurance pays for it, get your eggs frozen. I think one of the other conundrums that we have, particularly in the Black community, I'm going to say, is that if you are on a certain journey in life and you're supposed to go to college and graduate, we're always told how not to get pregnant, but we're never told, or
How
not to get
to
pregnant. We're
get
never
pregnant.
told when to get pregnant.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what is your advice? Because you and I we were talking about that too, and you said, the conversation you had with your mom about getting pregnant, and you weren't, if you weren't married, and her thoughts, because that's funny, but that's the real. Like, we go so long being told, girl, you better not
How
get pregnant
not
at
to get
wedlock.
pregnant.
Hmm.
Nobody tells you how to get pregnant.
Oh,
Get
wait,
your
you took a whole deep sigh on that one.
Well, I mean, we know the obvious ways of getting pregnant, but it's definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey. Making sure you get yourself to the healthiest point that you can be. You're never gonna be healthy enough. There's never gonna really be a good time financially, things like that. Now, granted, you just got evicted, you pillar the post. We'll know that's obviously not a good time. But the world is gonna keep happening. The world is gonna keep happening. If you know that you want a baby, you know you want to get pregnant, there's so many avenues, so many ways out there. You have surrogacy, like I said. I have a friend, she's a fetal maternal doctor, and she ended up using donor eggs, and she has fraternal twins now. So it's just, everybody's journey is different. Just know your journey, be intentional about what your journey is, and just have some grace and some patience with yourself. And everybody can't be on the journey with you, not on purpose. And it's just, some of it comes from just lack of education, lack of knowledge, just pure ignorance, as it does with a lot of things. And but just getting pregnant, just know what you want, be intentional about what it is that you want, take care of your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like my aunt used to say, take care of your gap goodie. You gotta take care of her. Cause I mean, it's just so many different things that go with that. From your mental health to your physical health, just taking care of yourself, and just go from there. But if anybody has any questions, would like to reach out, need me to help them do some research to find things in that area, what they're looking for, who they're looking for, how they're looking for, I'm here to try to help you do that, help you break down these fertility cycles, when you're ovulating, when your cycle coming again. You may have a 21-day cycle, you may have a 28-day cycle. When it's 5 weeks in a month makes a difference, 5 Sundays in a month make a difference. All of it, all that makes a difference.
Well,
So
how can people find you on social media? What's the best handle?
my IG handle is Eric's Queen, ERICCTS Queen. On
Okay,
Facebook,
ERICCTS Queen.
yes.
All right.
On Facebook is Khaya Hamilton Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put in my name on Instagram; it should come up as well. And then my email address is Kaya_Hamilton@yahoo.com.
Okay. I'm putting
And
it
then other
all
than
out
that, just
here.
reach out to Christina. Christina know how to find me. Christina
Yeah.
knows how to find me. She will always know how to find me.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, Kaya, we will definitely have you back. Folks,
Please.
thank you for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate you being involved in the conversation, and listening to this powerful story. We want to normalize this conversation. I know someone right now who has struggled and who had to watch their baby sister have a baby before them, who is now pregnant. And I'm just so happy and ecstatic for her and her husband, because it has been a journey. I'm not saying their name because I don't know if they told the world yet. They told me,
Right.
keep it to myself right there. But I know that more conversations like this need to be had. The support system, get get connected to someone who can help you in this journey, because you don't have to do it by yourself.
You do not. You do not. You do not. They
All
have
right.
support systems everywhere. Everywhere. They had I was a part of a group, just to tell you, men is a support group, mothers enduring neonatal death. I didn't attend the groups as often because there was always a new mother, and that was a sad situation. But I'm still there. If you ever see me in my pictures, I never take these bracelets off, and the purple one is for men. When it
Mm,
runs out, I call them and contact them and get some more. My husband and I both. I never take my men bracelets off. I wear them all the time.
mhm.
So Yeah, so just very good topic. But if anyone needs me, would like to reach out to me, please do not hesitate to do so. And thank you, ladies, again for having me on.
All right. Well, let's say
Right.
good night to everybody. Good night.
Good night.